Persperity Podcast. In the shadows we find our light. Through the struggles we'll take flight. Healing hearts and mending minds. Together we'll leave the past behind. Welcome to Persperity Podcast, where hope is found. Voices rising up, breaking new ground. With every story shared, we grow and learn. In this journey of healing, it's our turn. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Oh yeah. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Trauma whispers, but love will shout. In this space of trust, there's no doubt. We'll explore the depths of pain and grace, finding strength in every embrace. Welcome to Persperity Podcast, where hope is found. Voices rising up, breaking new ground. With every story shared, we grow and learn. In this journey of healing, it's our turn. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Take a breath and join the ride. Together we'll walk side by side with open hearts and open minds. In this podcast space, true peace we'll find. Welcome to Persperity Podcast, where hope is found. Voices rising up, breaking new ground. With every story shared, we grow and learn. In this journey of healing, it's our turn. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Mindful moments equal prosperous lives. Persperity Podcast, a safe space for people healing from trauma. Persperity Podcast, a safe space for people healing from trauma. Persperity Podcast, a safe space for people healing from trauma.
All right. So here we make sure I put the chatter relay up on the screen. You'll see the different people commenting live on the screen. I did send you that updated link, Alex. My apologies for that.
No, that's okay.
And all right, to get into this, how you feeling today?
Good. I'm glad. Thank you for having me here. I appreciate it very much.
All right, and I'm glad to have you here. We go all the way back to what 2023,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
spring.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're gonna get into that. But first, let me get into this introduction.
Okay.
All right, today's topic is the art of letting go, prioritizing yourself without guilt. Welcome to a Persperity Podcast. Today we have a special guest, Alex Johnson, who will guide us through the art of letting go, prioritizing yourself without guilt. In this episode, Alex will share insights on how to embrace self-care and make choices that honor your well-being. Join us as we explore practical strategies for releasing guilt and prioritizing what truly matters in our lives. Get ready to transform your mindset and discover the freedom that comes with letting go. Alex, you want to share anything before we get started?
Um, yeah, actually, beautifully in the spirit of letting go. I was a little bit nervous that you would introduce my business as and brand because that's what it has been since I've started my business. But actually, in the last couple of weeks, that has dissolved. And so, in the spirit and the art of letting go, a new business is being reborn. And I haven't even really announced the name of it yet, but here it is. I'm going to announce it now, I guess. But it is essentially the same thing. It's called And the Living Altar. And it's genuinely just about understanding that you are the portal unto yourself. And I am the guide that shows you the way into you, helps you listen to yourself, navigate self-translation, self-navigation, self-devotion, different things of that nature. But if you're here to remember who you are deeply and innately, remember your divinity, that's what I'm here for.
Okay.
And, as a mother, special shout out to Marley. um, I understanding how to honor and listen to yourself is so foundational. And I feel like that's a very key ingredient in prioritizing yourself without guilt. If you cannot listen to yourself truly, you can't really prioritize yourself, especially without guilt, because then you're going to be second guessing your decisions and things like that. So really listening to yourself and honoring yourself is kind of the core of what I do in my business. And I feel like it is also a core of prioritizing yourself without guilt.
I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Whew. Now, I think you covered a bit of my questions, but we still go.
Oh my God. I tend to do that.
It's okay. All right, you ready to transition into some of these questions?
Yes.
All right. So I shared with you we're gonna get into a little bit of motherhood. Some of these questions. Okay, so how does the experience of motherhood often highlight challenges of both letting go and prioritizing one's own mental health?
Hmm. And there's so much nuance to this answer because it depends on what stage they're in of life, what stage you're in of life, but the core of it is accepting that you're going to continuously meet new versions of yourself and your child every single day. It's not even every period or every chunk of their life. It's every single day. And when you can show up to these new versions of yourself and your child, it allows you to create this, bridge of communication and bridge of connection and bridge of things that kind of need to be there in order for you to not feel so much guilt for prioritizing yourself. Because if you're always at work and you don't have a very good connection with your child already, then taking time for yourself is going to come with a lot of guilt. And so if you have this bridge of communication and kind of allow the past versions of them to be let go and don't only always treat them like the tiny baby in your heart that you feel like they are, or like all of these different places in parenting that we can get stuck in, when we can really let go and meet new versions of each other each time. I think it continuously rebuilds and foundationalizes that gap so that there isn't so much guilt when you need to say, hey, I need to take 20 minutes for myself so I can think clearly.
And you have a little girl, right?
Yes.
Which is a whole different level of demanding, right?
Yes. Yes.
Emotions.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, in what specific ways can the expectations of motherhood create the feelings of guilt around self prioritization?
I mean, it's so stigmatized in our society that if you take time for yourself, you are innately selfish, especially as a mother. I think it's only very recently coming to light that you got to fill your own cup before you can fill other people's, blah, blah, blah. And although we still haven't integrated that in as a society, that is the truth. You do have to genuinely make sure your cup is filled so you can pour completely. But we haven't always been from that space. I know I haven't always operated from that space. I'm just trying to scrape by and survive. And especially right after you have a child and your whole sense of self is shattered to pieces and you have no idea who you are, and you really have to build a foundation of a sense of self when society is beating you from every angle, saying that any moments you take to yourself are depriving your child of love and care, on top of not knowing who you are. I mean, it's the most gut-wrenching tug of war that I've really ever experienced in this life. And there does have to just be a level of like, you can fucking think I'm a bad mom if you want to, but I know who I am and I know my kid knows who I am.
It's deep. It got to be that way. Sometimes you got to let people know that
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
I see a lot of mothers do a lot of different things, and I'm just like, you know what, you do you, because hey, y'all paving the way. So when I have a child, I'm gonna come knock on the door. Hey, what do I do?
Right, right. Yes,
Right. So I think people tend to make a comment about different things or be judgmental towards some people's parenting, um, because this things that they feel like they wouldn't do and that you
right.
should do. But
Yep.
don't get me wrong, I don't have kids, but there are certain things I see a child do, and I'll be like, "Hey, you better go sit down. Come on now, what you doing?" Because there's
Yeah.
some people that kids that act like they don't have no home training. Now
Yes.
that's a part of the little. To me, that's a part of
Yep.
bad parenting when
Yep.
your children can't go nowhere because they don't know how to act.
Yes, yes, that's fair, and that's a genuine, honest like conversation that I feel like parents do need to be open to having, because again, in society,
Mhm,
there's so much coming at you from every angle, and also we do have to be open to genuine,
mhm,
critical feedback of like, hey, long time, only because I've done research or I've had it happen to myself or I have experience in somehow in some way in this life. I do know that long-term effects of this might not be so great. Here's the information. Also, we always try to like throw advice down people's throats. Sometimes just a good old FYI, this is information that I have. I don't care if you do anything fucking with it, but here's some information that I have. I think it would really benefit us all as a society and especially as parents to be more open to that without it feeling like an attack on our parenting, because that is really hard
mhm.
to separate those feelings, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, that's deep. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. That's real good because somebody that's watching really needs to hear what you just said.
Well, beautiful. Good. I hope so.
All right. So, in transition into another question, how
Mhm.
can learning the art of letting go be a crucial tool for mothers in protecting their mental well being?
Mm. I would also say in the art of letting go, mm, letting go of this idealized version of the mother that you think that you're supposed to be, letting go of this pedestaled version of yourself that you have formulated in your head is worthy of your child. Because I mean, when you have a kid, nobody is good enough for them, not even you. And if you get stuck in that space in your head where you're just always feeling like you're messing up, or even if you pendulum swing to the far other side where you're just like, they'll be fine no matter what, both of those are spaces where you're you're trapped in a false identity and false illusionment where they can't really even meet you and they can't really even love you and connect with you properly because you're so disconnected from truth and from reality in the moment. But I think letting go of yourself, letting go of versions of your child, versions of a life that you thought you would live together, it is almost a constant letting go as they get older. Um, I think a lot of times when they're younger, it's a lot of prioritizing yourself without guilt.
Mhm.
And then you kind of get to a point where you can maybe do that a little bit better and it's not so bad. And then it comes the true art of letting go, where you're like literally prepping to truly let them all the way go. And I do think that is a very long journey within parenting, and it comes in small little moments
Yeah.
of not holding them to, younger versions of themselves and yourself and dreams and stuff.
What would you say to people that never had children, but God blessed them to be mothers? In that, with that same question, and even with some of the questions that already been asked.
Right. of just how to let go in the parenting process.
Yes.
I would say understand, and I don't mean to say this in any mean kind of way, and I mean this for every parent, no matter how you became one. Really sit in and understand your insignificance in their life, because it's theirs. It is their life to live. You get the glory and honor of witnessing it, holding space for it, supporting it, loving them through it, honoring them through it. But in the truest sense of it, they're not here for you. And if you can really sit in that truth,
Mhm.
you'll be very, very deep into the art of letting go,
Wow.
because there is a true understanding in letting go that comes with love and reverence for the person. I love you and I trust you and I respect you so much that I'm going to let you go and live your whole life, because it's not mine to do for you.
Wow. Wow. Okay. That was deep. Thank you for sharing that. Wow. Okay. I'll transition to another question. What are some common things that you feel that people feel they should be doing but might need to learn more to let go of their mental health? I mean, sorry, not let go of for their mental health.
Hmm. Expectations, internal shoulds, external shoulds, a lot. I mean, truly and honestly, as much as you can, try to get rid of the voices that do this at you. And that doesn't necessarily mean to cut them out of your life, but it can mean to that extent to cut them out of your life. If you have coworkers, friends, bosses, family members, don't cut your kids out of your life. That's a different story. But people in your life who just kind of yap at you and don't look into you or see into you, those are probably not the people to have consistently in your life. If you have to have them consistently in your life, make it a true energetic boundary that I do not pour into this relationship, because I will not be poured into with love. Now, I might be poured into, but it's probably not with love and reverence and honor. Now, like if it's your kids or something along those lines, then that is where community comes in. And having support for yourself so you can support your children, and so your community can love on your children as well, because we don't want to always be our number one person for our kids, but we genuinely end up being, and that's okay, as long as we have a support system as well, which is excruciatingly hard.
Yeah, that's deep. Deep. Wow. How can prioritizing your mental health as a mother ultimately benefit your children?
This is probably my favorite question, honestly. When I was a stay-at-home mom, I could see the immediate effects that oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate hearing how my words impact people. That is nourishment and medicine to me. So thank you. When I was a stay-at-home mom, I I could see the immediate effects of how my mental health on that day impacted my child. And I would get the karmic reverberations to it immediately. If I was having an awful day and I was shorter, I wasn't connected as much, or I was more distant in the head, or, like scurrying around, whatever it might be, I noticed it immediately in my child. And so that was my most visceral, tangible cue to really work on some regulation techniques and different things of that nature. And so it would almost be like this experimental practice game that I would do of like, okay, well, if I regulate myself and I get to this point, how does that affect her, and how centered and regulated can she be from me being dysregulated? And it turned into this beautiful thing where now unintentionally and naturally, I will hold a child that's not even mine, and I will just breathe in a way like you breathe when you're asleep, and they'll fall asleep. And I do it to adults. I've had people fall asleep in my hair cutting chair. So it's powerful. The more you can let go and prioritize yourself, even if it's in little pockets of moments, because sometimes that's all we get. I really, really want to stress to everyone, find the little momentary pockets of pause that life offers us every single second and milk them.
That's good. Thank you for that. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I believe some mothers out there definitely needed to hear that. I needed to hear that. Just like I'm on the side of being the child and not a mother yet, so
Right.
I'm learning some stuff for myself on how I can be a better daughter.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you. Wow. All right. So, what are some unrealistic expectations mothers often place on themselves, and how can letting go of these improve mental health?
That you can do it all. Period. 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 You can't. You can't. Love you, mean it, but you can't. You can't do it all as much as you want to, as much as you think you can. And let me add this true, genuine caveat. And as much as you actually are capable of, but you cannot do it all. Why? You won't exist inside of it. There won't be a you. There will be a being running around like a chicken with its head cut off, doing all the things, but there won't be a you inside of it. You will be detached. You will be gone. You will be disconnected. You won't be present. Do you want to be present in your life? Do you want to experience your own life? Then you really have to understand. You have to delegate. You have to, you have to pay the price of community, which is annoyance and inconvenience. You have to, or you're going to be doing the most and getting the least, because we're not set up to do it all by ourselves. However, we are set up to do it all together. You really can do it all together. As like cliche and High School Musical as that sounds, the more of us that put our heads in a singular facing direction, the more gets done. And that's just is what it is. That's why businesses thrive. That's why families thrive, even though they might be thriving deep into the ground. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. You getting deep on me. I already knew you were deep when we was working at Mr. Duncan's Breakfast and Lunch Lovers. I didn't throw that out there, y'all. We used to work for Mr. Duncan's as servers.
Yes.
But Alex, look, I already knew she was deep.
I get this comment so much, and to me, I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just logical, and I just explain it out. But I do know that a lot of times it's just like a culmination of all of the wisdom I've been gathering. And so when it comes out, it probably feels really beautiful and big and profound. And to me, it's just like, yeah, that was a regular Tuesday of just shit that I had to learn.
It's just free flowing for you. Everybody else is amazed. You're like,
And funny, I can actually speak on scientifically why that happens.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
Wow. Okay, let's transition into another question.
Okay.
How can mothers navigate the shifting roles and identities that come with different stages of motherhood? And when is it important to let go of old roles?
Oh,
Should I
I
say that again?
love this question.
You got it? Okay.
I love this question. Because I had a very profoundly large experience with this. So I'm a part of this sisterhood tribe. I'm a part of a lot of little communities now, but I was a part of this sisterhood tribe at the beginning of my mothering, and I still am. And during that phase of my mothering, I still deeply felt like a child. I was like, I am a baby grazing a baby. Like, as much as I want to step into my true motherhood, I don't feel I'm there yet. I feel saddened that I didn't finish out my childhood and I didn't finish out my youth. And I feel, you know, for lack of better word, burdened on my own sense of self that I didn't get to be the fullest little Alex that I could be. And I remember going to a camp out one year, and this was so heavy and potent within my life. And I just stood up in the middle of the bonfire and I screamed and I roared as deep and as loud as I could. And everyone was just like, wow, that was so beautiful. And it was beautiful, but it was a moment of me deeply grieving
Wow.
my sense of maidenhood that I wasn't going to be able to live within any longer. And as as the years have kind of passed and I've entered out of that maidenhood and made peace with leaving it, now I've really truly entered into motherhood, and I can like so deeply see that the process of letting go of my maidenhood, I mean, for lack of better terms and happenings, it was really like a losing my virginity type of moment of sorts, where it was like the innocence and the youthfulness and the life before is truly gone. And I really have to let that go. And in the spirit of letting go, I have to sit in this yucky, weird void like caterpillars do when they turn into goo and you don't even have a sense of beingness.
Metamorphosis. Yup.
Yes.
Yes. So let me flip that question. How can mothers navigate the different stages in their children, in the roles that their children, let me put it this way. How
Mhm.
can mothers navigate the shifting of roles and identities that come with the different stages of their child growing? And
Gotcha.
when is it important to let go of the old roles? So I'm just
Gotcha.
flipping the question to being the mother, being the child.
Okay.
Something else.
Okay. Sorry if I misunderstood.
No. You answered that really good. But I, in
Oh,
my head, while I was sitting here, I was like, let me flip that question and see how she does it from the other side as well.
okay. Beautiful. I love that. I would definitely say kind of what I was saying towards one of the beginning questions of you have to let go of the versions of your child that they have been. And like you can keep little parts and pieces. Like me and my daughter, we still do like weird little cutie talk and, little voices to each other and stuff like that, where other people might see that as weird or childish or babyish or different things like that. But in as much of the breaths that I talk to her like this in, I talk to her like a grown woman also. And we have extremely large, you know, age appropriate, but growing conversations. And it's because I don't sit here and hold her to this standard of being my little girl anymore. I know she still likes little girl things. And I do have to catch myself sometimes, because sometimes I might even get caught up in treating her like she's too grown. And I can't do that either, because she still is a child and she still is learning how to, walk around the block by herself or whatever. I can't just be like, yes, run to the nearest grocery store all by your lonesome. And although I can do anything I want to, so I could do that. But in honoring and in the truth of where she's at, I'm going to let go of the babiness that she's been and honor the truth of where she's at, and not prematurely push her into more growth, even though that inadvertently happens on both sides.
That's good. That's good. Do you ever find yourself pushing your daughter to a level like you're in your mind and you see something? You ever just try to like, well, push her into things and she's just like, "Mommy, I'm not ready."
Sometimes. Now, there's moments where, because her and I have established a very good communicative relationship, to where if I extend out a larger allowance or responsibility, and not allowance like money, but just allowance of, the freedom and autonomy of life,
Mhm.
and, where she can kind of do more things on her own and stuff like that, she will let me know if she feels nervous or if she feels scared about this, new allowance. And so then we just kind of talk it through. And if she feels that, even though I've opened this door, that she's not necessarily ready to walk through it yet, I won't ever push her to walk through it, because I innately, and I think this is a true foundation in letting go, is trust. If you can't trust in the process of life and in the process of timing and things happening and, all of that, if you can't trust, you can't really let go as, as much as would be beneficial.
Sip water on that because,
Yeah, I'll cheers. Yeah.
whew, because when you and I first met, you had this thing where you was just like, okay, what is up with Destiny? She's clammy. Like, what is this? And then you had me take this test, and you was like, okay, this makes sense. This
Yep.
makes sense. That's why you are that
Yep.
way, and you're just standoffish. And I've done a lot of growing, but I'm still in a reserved place where I'm like,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah.
But it's that T word, that
Mhm.
T word. I don't care if it's lowercase, uppercase, or whatever it is. That it's the T word, it's trust.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that what your mother gives you in the stomach and when they come out. It's like you're
Yeah.
building a relationship with your children, and that's where trust is established. And I feel like throughout my life, I have, because of the dynamics of my life and stuff. I shared some of those things with you.
Right.
Um, it has been very difficult to trust because
Yeah.
it wasn't something that was still to me, as in, like when I was in my birth mother's stomach, when I came out of my birth mother's stomach,
Yep.
trust has been really difficult because people think that, okay, you got to heal the trust. Let me tell you, trust is already instilled in you as you have, like, through your mother
Yep.
being there and her
Yep.
consistency and all of that. And trust is something that's taught, it's
Yep.
something that's nurtured into you, not
Yeah.
natured into you.
Yeah.
Again, I'm gonna say that's not natured into you, it's nurtured into you.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to say, oh, you need to trust, but are you nurturing that? Because some people have the most difficult challenges I'm noticing, they have gone through a lot, like I, or just in general, that have not, because they have never been taught how to trust. We use trust so lightly in the sense of um like it's a feather just floating in the air, and it's not.
Mm. Yeah.
Something trust to me is kind of like a boulder, or like a rock, something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
it might be a pebble, you might get to skip it a couple times, it might move, but it's about the solid sound foundation that it actually has.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you never know. You might chip away at that rock. Maybe something beautiful might get fossils or whatever it may be up in there. But at
Yeah.
the same time, it's about being grounded in something in order to know what you can trust. If you never
Yeah.
knew how can you tell me how to do it? I'm
Yeah.
trying to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
And it's like a reading, like you get something and you're trying to fix it up, and it's like you're trying to read the manual, and it's like I don't even know this math that is mathing on this paper, but I don't even get it in my head. I just don't get it at all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you put it together the way you feel. Like you need to do it, and you're just like, all right, it's put together. If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. And the irony of letting go and of trust is that they need each other. And like if you don't have trust, you truly can't let go as much as you want. And if you can't let go as much as you want, it's because there's not the trust. And so it is really this whole, self-contained little sphere of happening where when you can get rid of all these layers of untrust and get back to the little trust that's sitting there underneath. And and, and the beautiful thing that I've noticed in some clients before is that when you get to this space of like where you just feel this weightlessness almost, where all your things are almost suspended and you have nothing but the true divine nature that you were born with, then they'll start self-teaching trust to themselves. And it's so beautiful because then that is the true sense of like letting go. All the things that are now suspended, are they really relevant anymore? Because then they start falling away, they start dissipating. And now you're in here in this space teaching yourself trust. And it is, nobody has to do anything because it is just this innate thing that as long as you have the spaciousness and the nurture for, you can come into a sense of trustfulness within yourself in this life that, I mean, let go is all you do.
Wow. That's deep because a lot I hear a lot like in what you're saying about you and your daughter's relationship is that you have like you're showing her trust and in that that has come from a sense of hey like honestly I'm putting a boundary. Like some people throw out boundaries and
Right.
sometimes boundaries are walls.
Right.
Sometimes boundaries are a sense of control, but other times it's like there's a such thing as a healthy boundary, and with trusting comes with boundaries as well. And then that
Yeah.
boundary is okay. I'm trusting you not to hurt me. I'm trusting you not to let me down. I'm
Yeah.
trusting you to guide me through the things that I don't comprehend and understand. And that's a lot of challenges I have. I'll be like, look, if I've never been taught trust, and again, it comes from being in your mother's stomach, and there wasn't trust established in there because of all of the different neurological things that go on with babies in mother's
Yeah.
stomach. When I come out and I'm like that, and I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, if I'm never taught all those things and I'm trying to understand and comprehend that, and I'm giving a sense of trust to someone, I'm trusting you to help me understand the things I do not know.
Right.
Because that
Right.
ain't common sense. Because things that exposure is what gives people the experience of things.
Yes.
But
Yes.
the fact of the nurturing is the to me nurturing is the act of being consistent in someone's life and
Mm-hmm.
being mindful enough to know that every step in their lives that you're in they're trusting you to teach them to
Mm-hmm.
love them and
Yeah.
nurture that area because
Yeah.
they may not understand like hey I don't hey if I'm like saying go ahead I ain't got the instructions you got the instructions go ahead teach me something
Right.
I'm trusting you go
Yep.
ahead.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And
I
it's
love
hard because somebody told me it was like, look, you're not driving. They told me, I was like, what you mean? No, I'm not driving. You're not the driver. You're in the passenger seat or you're in the back seat, but I'm driving. And I'm used to being a person that drive because look, I don't know where I'm going. And that's
that.
not good in direction in life. When you're driving, you don't know where you're going. I'm talking about the metaphorically speaking.
Right. Right. Right.
I'm not driving. You're not driving. I'm driving, and that's different for me because I've had to drive, knowing that for me, it just had to look. It didn't have to. I know what it did. I didn't want it to look like.
Right.
I know what I didn't want it to feel like, but I was still driving, and sometimes not even looking at the scenery. I was on a mission. But when
Yep.
I realized that God sent somebody in my life and he was like, look, better get out of that driver's seat, get in the back seat, or you better get in that passenger seat. Because hold on, we're going home. It's about to be a bumpy ride. Well, we got this. So I
Yeah.
had to learn in that trusting. And who I'm speaking of is my godmother, the one you met at
Yeah.
Mrs. Duncan's. And that has been it's been a journey. It really has.
Yeah.
And it's been scary, but at the same time, it's been a blessing.
Yeah.
Um, I'm excited because she just recently told me, get out of the driver's seat. I got this. And I
Mhm.
was like,
And
yeah,
that's so nourishing and nerve-wracking to like, okay. You like,
right.
I'm gonna buckle though.
Exactly. She was
Okay.
like, look, I don't need you to give me directions or nothing. I got this. Because
Damn.
I've always been a person where I had to have it because I didn't have anybody but myself. I didn't have a
Right.
sibling, a friend, not an uncle, whoever it is. It had always been myself. But in the stages of that relationship of her not having children and then me coming into her life, and also at the same time, like the tumultuous circumstances I gone through, it was a lot of things that she had to be exposed to, and the nurturing that she had to have on her end for me, her end, like my end from her, and
Yeah.
even on her own. And in that, it's like just for us to be at the stage now, that means I've grown of
Yeah.
that level where you tell your daughter, like, hey, you can go outside, but do hold up.
Right.
Give you some boundaries, it's like that's why I feel like we're at that stage where I'm like, okay, all right, I trust you. And she's
Yeah.
just like, all right, I trust you enough right now to know that I'm gonna say this to you. Get out of the driver's seat. I got this. You're not running nothing. You're not on your own no more. I don't need you to tell me
Yeah.
how I need to stop and get gas. I don't need you to tell me that that you got to go get something to eat. No, hold up. I'm running this.
Yeah.
And I needed that because life has been so chaotic in my head, in my mind, and all of that. And it's so much easier for someone to try to tell you how you should do something
Yeah.
opposed to someone to love you into how to understand that.
That's a whole word.
Because I'm
That's a
telling you,
whole word.
my godmom has done that, and a lot of people in a lot of areas don't understand the depth of that.
Yeah.
Like, you have to love somebody to come into their true self is on a whole nother nurturing, intimate level that you could not ever begin to hit if you do not understand and comprehend your purpose and your calling in people's lives, whether that is being a biological parent, non-biological parent,
Yeah.
because you have to have those intimate moments with your children as well for them to be able to understand. And I'm learning that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're in it because people look at intimacy as something like between. No, it's not. You
Right.
have those moments with your children, your friends, and all of that,
Right.
because those are those deep moments that you take and you share with one another. And
Yeah.
in that, it's like for me to share those moments with her, it hits different because there's a lot of times where there's moments that hit me really fast and when I get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I notice that conversations are different with other people opposed to the conversations I have with her.
Mm.
Because I sometimes hold people at the same standard as I hold, like not even standard. I don't even hold her as a standard. But sometimes I try to give people the benefit of the doubt of that area. Because some people come thinking they got the juice on
Right.
how to parent. But
Right.
when you come on around, mama got the juice on
Right.
how to do things differently when it comes to nurturing and loving a child that's not our own.
Yeah.
In there for someone, even though she didn't have to. And
Yeah.
actually being able to teach somebody something because sometimes people think they know everything. And
Yeah.
sometimes you don't
Yeah.
know everything. So I
I
went on
love,
that whole spiel and all that stuff, but we're gonna go
no,
back.
I love that. I actually have a question for you out of that, if I may.
Okay. Yeah.
How how has your art of letting go in the sense of receiving been for you in your life as you've been receiving more loving nurturing?
It has been something of a different noise.
Mhm.
Before it was like loud because it was trauma, was all that. Now it's like I'm like, dang, this got rhythm.
Yes. Yes.
It got rhythm over here. It
Yeah.
wasn't boom, 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 pow, 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 but it's like, okay,
Yep. Yes.
like, okay, I can get to this.
You can see
But
you can feel the pattern.
yes, and a lot of times it's being terrifying because with that, I didn't know it came with, I didn't know it comes with additional people and places and things because it's like, okay, I'm growing, I'm doing this, I got this.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next thing I know, here comes my mom dating. And I'm a grown adult and I've gone through a lot of trauma and issues. And I'm like,
Yep.
you back up. That's my mama. God, that's my mama.
I just got this. I just got this solidified.
As she said, let her drive. And you trying to let other people be in the car?
Right.
Hold up.
No, I didn't approve that.
Exactly. Hold up a second. She's like, no. I still got this. I got you sit right there. And I'm like, no, wait, you go ahead and scoot over. I got this. I'm driving. I don't care
Yes.
what you look like.
Oh God, that requires so much trust.
Because it's like I'm in that stage right now. And it is terrifying. But it is something of my emotions woman. And it's like, oh, I can see this. Next morning, I'm like, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. It's like you in the car and the car going really fast and you stick your head out the window and the wind is blowing and you can't breathe. You like, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I don't. It's like, man, this is the type of I can't breathe. The inhaler can't get. It can't fix for me. But oh my gosh, like I told her the other day. I said we need to write a book on how people that have gone through trauma and people that want to love people that's going through trauma, tumultuous circumstances on their relationships and understanding those relationships from her perspective and my perspective. But also once we get through this hurdle of not even hurdle, but once we get through this new chapter, which is the chapter of my mom is dating. Which means that somebody else is entering into the we ain't even talking about the chat. They entering into the chapter, the book. And I'm like, whoa, like you're taking a whole precedence in the life. So it's been a transition. It really has. It's a different beat now, but sometimes the beat gets real loud, and then the anxiety sit in and the frustration sit in, and I'm just like, look, help me, please help me. Help me. So that's where I am. I'm in a much better place, but something I'm a little thrown off right now. But I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there. We work through it.
We trust. We trust.
I just be like, that's why I be like, I trust you. I trust you. I trust you. I trust you. All right. I trust you. I trust you. Yeah. And it's like I'm not even convincing myself that I trust. It's just like all right, I trust, because trauma saying don't trust. Past saying don't trust. This don't look like what it should look like. They trying to ask my mama, but what this look like? Because I ain't never been exposed to what it looked like. But then I got other people telling me how I should look at it. And a lot of times I just want them to just be there. I just want them to just love on me. Even if that's to be like, you know what? I'm listening to you. But hey, let's go get a bite to eat. Can I come over just to bring you something? Or better yet, like, what can I do for you? How can I be there for you? And better than that, not even asking that, just like really just showing up. I feel like people just show up by just listening. Show up, because if you are who you are to me, and you are who you are to my mom, whoever it is, it takes a village, like you said. In that village, that takes a lot off of her in being who you are to be able to help and support her, helping and supporting me a lot of times. And that calms the storm. You know what I mean? So
so much.
Yeah.
I love
so we went into a whole thing.
That's all right.
Well, my mom just texted me. She said, "I'll be telling her my business." I'm not telling your business. I'm just saying she's dating. She's been dating throughout the years.
Right.
This level of dating is a different type. So I'm like,
this is serious. And it requires serious trust, Mama. We trust you a lot.
Yep. What Alex said. But I do, though. I do trust her. And it's just a different place. And you don't think about these things when you go through trauma and hurt and pain and disconnection and not reconnection, not even knowing what those are. You don't think about getting to a place of, again, where it's peaceful, but there's a different beat and it's on rhythm. So you begin to, you good with it until something shifts, and then you like,
you gotta stretch that capacity a little bit more.
Right. And I'm like, hold up. I thought I was good, but now I got to work on myself a lot more because this situation put me in a whole different mindset.
Yeah.
So I am learning. I'm learning. Okay. That was a good question though. Thank you. Thank you for involving me into that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. I didn't skip through some. I got to get back to our questions. Okay. All right. How can the pressure to be a perfect mother contribute to mental health struggles, and how does letting go of perfectionism help?
I mean, to be honest, I think perfectionism is the whole reason why motherhood is really hard sometimes.
Mm,
If there wasn't this external and internal perception of what perfection is, I think that we would allow ourselves to just be the gloriousness that we are anyway. Because even though I have a different relationship with perfection now,
mm,
I very much still hold myself to unrealistic expectations. I expect myself to meet every emotional ebb and flow of my child. And I don't necessarily actually think that's healthy to do, like in tangible reality as I've lived it out. Because as much as I want to be there for every high and low, and I want her to know that she's always supported, there are times and places for your children to move through their own emotions by themselves. And knowing when to go check on them and not is insanely hard and necessary, because I have had moments where I thought I should check and I didn't, and that bit me in the butt. And then I've had moments where I went to go check way prematurely, and then that bit me in the butt. And so it is this dance of letting go,
mm,
of really understanding when is a time to hold yourself to standards,
mm,
but not expectations and perfections and different things like that. When is it okay to hold yourself to standards? And when is it okay to just allow life and reality to be what it is and do your fucking very best that you can in the moment? Because there are times where I would really love to sit here and say that, you know, my daughter is never upset with me and I am just the greatest mom in the whole wide world. But that's not real in any sense of reality.
mm,
As much as I know she loves me and I know that I am a good mom, there are still very much times where I do not meet her standard
mm,
nor my own. And in the art of letting go and prioritizing yourself without guilt,
mm.
the prioritization in that space
Yeah.
is sometimes allowing yourself to not have guilt or to have healthy guilt
Mm,
so that you can grow properly. Because sometimes guilt has really helped me step into those standards for myself. But there have been a lot of times where I've trapped myself because of it. And I mean, like with anything, it's a nuanced dance for each person, I think.
wow. Wow. I want to transition in. Thank you for sharing that. I want to transition to a deeper question.
Mm-hmm.
What are some ways mothers can let go of the need for constant control and embrace the unpredictable nature of parenting for better well being?
Trust. I know I keep saying it, but if there is not a part of you, and I really mean this, because I've been at spaces where it hasn't been, and I've been at spaces where it has been.
Mm-hmm.
If you do not have some kind of relationship to life where you can trust in the process of life, whether you call it God, whether you call it the universe, whether you call it Beebity Bob Joe, I don't care. there has to innately be a part of you connected with the ever continuousness of this reality
Mm-hmm.
that trusts its process. And if you cannot do that,
Mm-hmm.
you've got to find ways to figure out how. My number one way and my go-to is pattern recognition, learning how to listen to life constantly speaking to you. Listen to yourself constantly speaking to you, because then I can build, I can gather up evidence. I can build a tangible, solid foundation of trust out of that. And trusting in the process of life is really, really hard when you're in survival mode, and when you're trying to make sure that your kids are fed, and when you're trying to make sure that they're surviving. And like,
Mm-hmm.
that seems like the most privileged idea. And a lot of times, sometimes it is. And it's an idea that we have to allow and demand ourselves to accept as capable and realistic for everyone, no matter the situation. Because even if you are, homeless with your child under a bridge in a box, there is still an innate trust within you that
Mm-hmm.
nobody's going to come up and murder you in the middle of the night, and that you feel safe under that particular bridge and in that particular box and positioned in that particular way. Like those tiny little moments that you did trust, those are the pockets that we can just rip open and allow to run rampant throughout your life so that you can build foundations of trust.
Wow.
Because I mean, truly, if you cannot trust life, you will always want to control it. And even then,
Ooh,
you still kind of do want to control it.
that's deep. That's deep. Wow. Can you say that again?
You have to trust life, or you're going to want to control it. And
Mm.
even then, still, you probably do end up trying to control it anyway.
Wow. So trust is in every single area in life. For
Yeah.
yourself personally, for outwardly, inwardly. It don't matter what it is and who it is. So
Yeah.
in some areas we have to say we can say that we do trust in some areas, but specifically because sometimes people are like, you don't trust.
Right.
You have trust issues. I'm like, I have trust issues in one area, but I'm realizing that it's not in every area. It's just in
Yeah.
some.
Yes.
That's deep.
Yes. Yeah. And allowing yourself to kind of sit in pockets where you do trust maybe more naturally
Mhm.
is really good practice ground for stretching your capacity to trust.
Mm. Mm. Okay. Okay. You give me a lot to think about. Wow. Okay. Mm. Wow. So what does the role of communication play in family concerning your mental health needs and elevating guilt around self prioritization?
Mm. I love this because communication, I think, along with trust, communication is another foundational thing in all of life and in every area of life. And communication doesn't always happen verbally, and it doesn't always happen with our mouths, and it doesn't always happen in the ways that we've logically accepted communication to happen. Sometimes communication, and this is what I mean when I say we have to listen to ourselves in the way that we're always talking to ourselves and life's always talking to us. All of our facial expressions, all of the rhythms of our breath, all of the thoughts that we loop in, all of the decisions that we make and don't make, all of the decisions we get stuck in. And oh, thank you, Karen. But all of these little, like, tiny, very automatic things that happen
Mhm.
are always speaking to us. When we can learn how to listen to those better, we can truly create so much more spaciousness around us prioritizing our mental health and us prioritizing ourselves without guilt. Because then we know that when I'm communicating that I need some space, that even if it's not received well, it is going to be received because I've had this prior conversation with myself already. I've noticed all of the patterns that play in my life where it says, girl, you need some alone time. You know what I mean? I'm over here literally stubbing my toe on the couch every single morning because I'm running too fast in my head and I'm physically can't slow down enough that I keep stubbing my toe. That is telling you something. That is communicating with you and understanding how each and every moment of this life, yourself and life included, is always communicating to you. That helps you foundationalize trust.
Mhm.
It helps you learn how to let go. It lets you learn how to prioritize yourself. And even if you do have guilt afterwards, you can still honor that guilt in the process. It doesn't, you don't succumb to it. It doesn't eat you alive. It is this understanding that, yep, I'm taking some alone time that I knew I needed to have. And now I feel guilty, which I know is going to probably happen. And like, it's more of a trusting the process kind of thing. Like, I know this is part of the process of it. So there will be a chunk of time where you're going to feel so guilty for taking care of yourself. And eventually you'll get to the point where that feeling isn't so predominant and loud in your life.
Wow.
Like your feelings of mistrust or distrust for things. It's not that they've gone away, it's that they're not as loud, you know? And when they do get loud sometimes, then it's like, oh, whoa, there's a feeling that I've felt for a very long time, but it's louder than it normally is right now. What is this telling me? What is this communicating with me? You know what I mean?
That's deep. You hit it. You dropping some gems, Alex. For real. Wow. Wow. And this next question is going to hit on something that you said before, but it's deeper.
Okay.
How can learning to let go of past parenting mistakes contribute to a mother's present mental health and ability to prioritize herself?
Okay, wait. Say that one more time.
How can learning to let go of past parenting mistakes contribute to a mother's present mental health and ability to prioritize herself?
Okay, yes. So, like, kind of like with the versions of ourselves, right? We're all going to go through versions of ourselves where we're like, dang, I kind of wasn't as good of a mom as I know I could have been at that point in time. And sure, I can sit here and say that I was doing the best I could, but also in reality, I know maybe I wasn't actually doing exactly the best that I could. And that's okay too, because we don't necessarily have to be the greatest versions of ourselves in order for our kids to learn how to be humans and good humans at that. Because humans are in a very weird evolutionary space right now where, there's whole generations like the millennials generations and such and blah, 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 are all very much in the same pattern of healing their kids in the same way and healing themselves in the same way. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's still the best way. And so I think we really need to, one, stop holding ourselves to unrealistic standards of perfection, especially within parenting. Our kids need to see us mess up, and they need to be communicated with during it, and they need to be able to understand the conflict resolution cycle. And like, I'm not for fighting in front of your kids, but I am for being real in front of your kids. And if you and your spouse are arguing, you don't necessarily have to take it to a different room. Maybe don't call each other out of your names. Like, maybe be more conscientious and aware of who's around you and maybe tailor the argument better, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can't be in that moment of happening because your kids are right there. I think that kids really would benefit a lot from learning how to be messy and how to honor the messiness that being a human is, because kids are very ostracized in society because they're messy. They're messy emotionally, they're messy physically, they're messy psychologically. They're just all over the place all the time. And we ostracize them because we don't want to have to deal with that. We don't want to have to pick up that mess, clean up that mess. But when kids can see not only how to clean up a spilled glass of water or milk on the floor, but also how to see how to clean up and repair a relationship and how to navigate sharing differing opinions or, different things of that nature, I think that it would be really beneficial for us to really let go of all of these standards of, they're very Eurocentric standards of what is acceptable, what is proper, what is okay, what is socially normal. But realistically, we're animals when we get down to it, and mothers nip at their cubs. Quit fucking around, and that's okay. That doesn't make that lion a bad mom. We just have to connection. If you have a trust and connection and can communicate and create bridges, there can be so much allowance for humanity to be human, even kids and moms especially, because we're put on this box that we have to look, be, act, parent, do all the things only within this box. But that's not real. Kangaroos sometimes kick their kids across the fucking field. Don't do that. And, we have our own versions of that as humans where we're like, I need 5 minutes. Please let me have 5 minutes and respect that, because I will respect when you need 5 minutes. And we can communicate that. And it doesn't have to be this big ordeal where I hate you, because I don't. I need 5 minutes.
Okay. You speaking to me. That was something I didn't understand about my grandma when she came into my life, and when I was 23. I didn't understand that at all. So I saying that made me really understand deeply that it's not about me, it's about her. She
Yeah.
just needs that time. So
Yes.
thank you for that.
Yeah. And that is hard. It is hard.
Wow. Thank you. Wow. How can mothers of older children navigate the guilt of pursuing personal interests or career goals when they feel they should be solely focused on their children?
I don't know how much I can genuinely speak to this because my kid is still definitely under a roof, under a watchful, careful eye, all that, blah, blah, blah. But I've really noticed as a daughter with my own mother that the more she allowed herself to be, and the more she pursued her things and passions and stuff, the more aware I was of how stifled she allowed herself to be because of me. And then also how much more excited I am to be in relationship with her, because she's going to go experience these new things and become even more and better, more growthful versions of herself that now I get to experience without being necessarily under her wing. I can, as much as I want her love and nurturing and care and stuff like that, I really actually would like for her to grow to the point that, I can feel loved enough to be my fullest expression of myself because I see her doing it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's allowed me to love her more. Not that it's not hard sometimes when you don't feel as much of a priority, but I think it is a large permission slip to the adult children of now it's time to learn how to make yourself a priority because you deserve that, and so do I.
Okay. That's deep.
I'm going to plug this in real quick, 5 seconds.
Go ahead. I do want to share. If you're watching, if you're not subscribed, please go like my video, subscribe, click the bell so you always know when I have a live and what guest I have, and like on Facebook, Instagram, and support. And if you ever want to be a guest on the podcast, please inquire and via my social media page, or if you know the guest that's on the podcast, please reach out to them. They'll reach out to me, and we'll talk. We'll see where we could fit you in and what dates and times. I do want to let you know that I'm booked all the way to mid-August, and that may change in the next week or so. But if you'd like to be a guest, please don't hesitate to reach out. Um, at this part of the podcast, um, I do a lot of it was focused towards the motherhood and stuff like that, and because of Mother's Day and all of that as well. And I
Right.
know your daughter was like, "Hey, insert me in," and I told you I was like, it was a
Shout
plan.
me out.
But in the art of letting go, prioritizing yourself without guilt, what are some things outside of not even about the motherhood concept of you and prioritizing yourself? Like, what is that in the deepness for you? Some things that you would like to share before we wrap up.
So I didn't know what the topic was going to be until you sent me our little video thing,
Mhm.
and I just laughed. I just laughed because of fucking course this would be my topic. Of course. And I say that with the most beautiful irony because my life has genuinely been segment after segment after segment of how much can you let go? How much can you prioritize yourself without guilt?
Wow.
And I say that because as a child, I grew up, you know, I grew up in a space where it was very, very hard for me to be myself. And when I did, it would be little, remarks or comments. And so I shrunk. I got so energetically small and flattened to where I could please anybody at any particular moment. I knew how to people please my fucking ass off. And I just knew what anyone needed the second they needed it, and then I would give it to them so that I could disappear and go be alone and go be myself. And as I've gotten older, those worlds inside of myself have collided to the degree that I've really had to choose myself over myself. And so there's versions of me that I still catch myself trying to people please and to, not rock the boat, not say anything that could stir the pot a little, even though sometimes I do it just for fun because it's funny, whatever. But in a true sense, like, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I don't want anyone to feel like they're not seen, they're not heard, blah, blah, blah. And so this past probably 5 years has been the most treacherously beautiful journey of learning how to prioritize myself and how to let go of people's reactions to that. Like my one and only tattoo that I have. I don't know if you can see it, but it says safe to be me. And it's the only tattoo I have. And it's because I had never felt safe to be me. And so there is this period of my life that I'm in right now where it sucks to suck for you, but that's what you're going to get is me as fully as I can give it in the moment. And that is stretching its capacity in each new moment. And so at some point in this life, I would love to be able to show up with the full presence of who I am and gift that gloriousness to people, because that's what I want other people to do. I want other people to be so themselves that they just can't even help it. And in that vein, like I work with a ton of people with different abilities, or we would call the quote quote disabled community, even though I absolutely hate that word because nobody is disabled. They are strategically put in spaces to feel disabled. But everybody has abilities. And when we can really honor those properly, I mean, I'm kind of going off on a tangent now, but the whole point of what I was saying is that I've gotten to a place now where I really make it a priority to let go of other people's perceptions of me or what I think they're perceiving, because that might not even actually be what they're perceiving, and to just actually be myself and let the reactions lay where they lie.
Okay. Look, you have the platform. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I mean, I could talk forever. I think the biggest thing that I want to say is if you can truly let go. Yes, we need to teach our kids to be their authentic selves early in life. And actually, I just did a podcast on my own podcast about this. And my podcast is called The And of It All, and it's on Spotify if you want to listen to it. But this previous episode I just posted is called Listen Authentically, and it's about listening to yourself, because and it talks about blackmail and coercion, and like, how do you be your authentic self? How do you be the fullest expression of yourself when no one has told you how? How do you be yourself when no one has ever shown you how to do that or ever trusted you to do it properly? And so it really is this understanding of, well, you have to let go of all of these ideas that you think it is and all of these ways of being that you think it is, and just let yourself be revealed to yourself in every moment and listen to it. You're speaking to yourself in each of those moments, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that is what teaches our kids to do it, role modeling it out for yourself. We can sit here and talk at them all day. They don't hear us. They see us. They feel us. They do not hear us.
Wow. Wow. That's deep. Even as an adult, I feel that way. What you said, I do that sometimes.
Yes.
I'm really hearing what you're saying.
Yeah, and kids are the best teachers. They hold the most wisdom.
Wow. And I don't want to speak more on that. About when you said the feelings of not feeling like you could be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I am so proud of how brave you are to be able to express that on the podcast or just in general, because that takes a lot of self-prioritization, just understanding to be able to share that without any unapologetically, without any somebody saying something. You just like, "Huh, I felt it. That's how I feel, and that's it."
Yep. Yep.
And that's I'm not even going to say brave because, in all honesty, there are situations where we have to be brave. Like if I'm somewhere and it's like a bear, I'm gonna be brave.
Right.
But that was I would not consider that in the sense brave because brave is something where I feel like you have to be. I identify that with somewhere you have to be in survival.
Hmm. Hmm. I know
You
what you
are very matter of fact. You're very self confident, and you speak in the direction of where you're going. And
mean.
that, and I love that.
Mm. Mm.
And that's
Thank you.
how I always see you. That's somebody that you speak in a direction of where you're going. Because most people don't even speak in a direction where they're going. They just saying all types of stuff. You don't know where,
Mm.
but you know where you're going, and that's deep.
Mm.
And you let no one come in and influence that
Yeah.
and change that route. And authentic, authentication, just being that authenticity.
Hmm.
It's, if I had to sum you up, that's you, and that's
Thank you.
met you. That's you, and I love that.
Yeah.
I love that the title resonated with you because funny thing is, I'm a true believer in God. My relationship with God. A lot of people may feel like it may not be the relationship that they have, but
Right.
God gives me the title of every podcast. He
Yes.
gives me the name of every guest that's to be
Yeah.
on the show, the
Yeah.
dates and times and all of that. So when
Mm.
it resonated with you like that, I was like, oh, yeah, I get that a lot because some people don't
Ooh.
get a title like that, but God,
Yes.
God,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it'd be something that is resonating with you all that I have no idea, but I
Right.
know that it's going to be unveiled on the podcast because you're
Mm.
going to share that. But that's why it's important to have that space, that
Yeah.
comfort, that safe space. Like I told you, sometimes dialogue, sometimes it's monologue because it's what you make it. Because God blessed me to have this, to be a person to be over this podcast, to share, to be able to give you all the space to share.
Yeah.
Because that a lot of people talk about God, and it's okay to talk about God because I'm gonna talk about God a lot of times on here too.
Yep.
But show people God. Show them
Yeah.
that they matter. Show them that they are beautiful human beings. Show them that they can come on here and turn their um trauma to triumph,
Yeah.
their testimony, and put it out there to help share with people that you could even though you're where you're at, that ain't always where you're gonna be at. So
Yes.
like how Google Maps get updated, you just
Yep.
going through an updating process. You're gonna guy gonna spin the block, you're gonna
Yep.
come around, and it's gonna be a whole new image. I don't know about you if you ever go and look at Google Maps,
Yep.
you Googling the street and the street look different.
Yes.
It's just you're gonna look different after you put in that work. So
Yep.
we all just going through a transition.
Yeah.
So
It's all divinely orchestrated. We all put in a divinely orchestrated situations all the time, every single second of every day. So thank you for your magnificent projector guidance of all of that energy.
thank you, thank you. And before we wrap up, is there anything else that you would like to share?
I just have one more thing.
Go ahead.
If you have never dived into your human design, I highly recommend it. Um, Especially and only truly for the sense of knowing, loving, and learning yourself. It will allow you to listen to yourself so much more completely, and it will allow you to understand yourself so much better than just witnessing it in real time as it comes in. It gives much more framework for it. Like this whole time I have been giddy in the back of my head because I'm like, gosh, this is such a beautiful platform for you because you're a self-projected projector and you have to talk things through in order to properly synchronize and organize your thoughts. And so then you're able to truly like formulate it out into what is correct and what is truth for you because you're able to bounce it off of things and it's just, I don't know, there's just so many beautiful nuances of everyone's design that we play out all the time. And this was another podcast that I did, but we're always also trying to shove our own designs down everyone's throats, like, be more like me, be more like me. But in reality, we need everyone to be so much more themselves, so much deeper. And when we can do that, then we can utilize everybody's beautiful skills properly without them feeling used, because you are utilizing some magnificent skills that only you were born with. Only you were born with this culmination and nuance and dynamic of all of the gifts that you were born with. And this is a magnificent fucking channel in order for you to be able to channel all of those beautiful divine gifts out through. No one else would be able to do it like that. And if we can all be more fully ourselves, how much more of this gloriousness would we be able to have in the world? You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I have one final question.
Yes.
What are some final words of encouragement for mothers, for aunts, for uncles, for family, for anybody who are on the journey of learning to let go and prioritize themselves without guilt?
I'd like to have more to say, but this is just what keeps coming. So I'm going to just say this. Trust yourself. If there's a moment where you say something, you make a decision, you do something, whatever, and you're like, damn, that don't sit right with me. Trust that. Apologize. Make the amends. Resolve. Do whatever. But in every moment, trust yourself. Because I promise you will be so much more satisfied and feeling successful and at peace and able to take in surprise for your life when you feel like you can trust yourself in every moment.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Wow. Is there anything else before we wrap up? Thank you, Alex. That was a truly viable discussion with Alex Johnson on the art of letting go, prioritizing yourself without guilt. Here on Persperity Podcast, where Alex has literally just blessed all of us with just her divine, just personality, just dynamic, who she is. You all, Alex, I just want to say thank you for sharing your expertise, for being who you are, and for shouting out your podcast, which is the end
Of it all.
the end of it all. Can you spell that out so people that go subscribe, Spotify, you all? Can you spell that out?
Yep. THE, like the, and then and AND, the and then OF of IT, it, ALL, all. The and of it all. All very, the spelling that we know and love.
And go and subscribe, everybody. Go and support. And if you found this conversation helpful, please subscribe for more insightful episodes and give me a like and share with others. Hit that bell icon so you'll always be notified when I go live. And know that your well-being matters. So nurture your mind without an apology. Join us next time on Persperity Podcast, where next week I have another amazing guest. And as always, I want to say thank you, Alex. We're going to jam it out with my podcast theme song and some of these commercials. All right.
In the shadows we find our way. To the struggles we will take flight. Healing hearts and mending minds. Together we'll leave the past behind. Welcome to Persperity Podcast, where hope is found. Voices rising up, breaking new ground. With every story shared, we